The alien ship drifted through space like a metal shark, its sensors sweeping across the dead planet below. Commander Velthar studied the readings with cold satisfaction. Earth hung before them, brown and scarred, its surface covered in ash and radiation. No cities glowed in the darkness. No radio signals reached into space. Nothing moved on the poisoned ground. Still dead, he reported to his crew. 50 years, and the humans remain extinct. The other HFY officers nodded. They remembered the Great Cleansing well. Their weapons had turned human cities into glass craters. Their bombs had poisoned the air and water. 12 billion primitive creatures had died screaming as their world burned. It had been necessary, of course. Humans bred too fast and fought too hard. Better to kill them all before they became a real threat. What the aliens could not see were the vast tunnels carved deep into Earth's bones. Miles below the ruined surface, humanity had survived in cities built from desperation and rage. The underground complex beneath Old Sol stretched for hundreds of miles, its corridors buzzing with quiet activity. Captain Lee Junho walked through the metal hallways, his boots echoing against the floor. Workers in gray uniforms hurried past him, carrying tools and data tablets. Everyone moved with purpose here. There was no time for rest, no energy for games. Every person had a job. Every job served the plan. "Status report," Junho said as he entered the command center. Lieutenant Park Minho looked up from his screens. The young man's face was pale from years without sunlight, like all the survivors. "The last ships are ready, sir. Admiral Kim Sora wants to see you." Junho nodded and headed deeper into the complex. The elevator dropped for several minutes, taking him to levels that few people ever saw. Here, in the deepest parts of their underground world, lay humanity's greatest secret. The doors opened to reveal a massive cavern carved from living rock. Stretching into the darkness were 300 warships, each one painted black as space itself. They hung in the artificial gravity like sleeping predators, their hulls smooth and deadly. These were not the clumsy rockets that humans once flew to the moon. These were weapons of war, built from stolen alien technology and 50 years of burning hatred. Admiral Kim Sora stood on an observation deck watching teams of workers make final repairs to the nearest ship. She was in her 70s now, one of the few who remembered the sky before it turned to fire. Her hair was gray, her face lined with age and sorrow, but her eyes still burned with the fury that had kept humanity alive. "They still think we're dead," she said without turning around as Junho approached. "Good," he replied. "Let them stay blind a little longer." Sora finally looked at him. "Do you remember your family, Captain?" Junho's jaw tightened. "Every day." "My daughter was 7. When they came," Sora continued, her voice soft but steady, "she loved to draw pictures of flowers. Pink ones were her favorite." She paused, staring at the black ships below. "There are no more flowers on Earth." The Admiral turned back to the viewport. "Chief Engineer Oh Hyunwoo says the stealth systems are perfect. We can reach their space without being detected. Our weapons are stronger than theirs now. We've had 50 years to study their technology, to improve it, to make it serve our needs." "And the target?" Junho asked. "The research station at Arcturus, the place where they built the weapons that killed our world." Sora's hands curled into fists. "It seems fitting, don't you think?" Below them, technicians ran final checks on the ship's systems. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a city, but they were designed for stealth, not display. The HFY would never see them coming until it was too late. 12 billion people, Sora whispered. 12 billion voices crying out for justice. Junho placed a hand on her shoulder. "We carry them with us, Admiral. Every shot we fire, every ship we destroy, we do it for them." The old woman nodded. In a few hours, these ships would launch for the first time, rising through hidden shafts that led to the surface. The HFY had been careless in their victory, growing soft and comfortable, while humanity had grown hard and sharp. "They wanted to make us extinct," Sora said, watching as the first ship's engines began to glow with contained fire. "Instead, they created something worse than anything they could imagine." The hangar filled with the quiet hum of awakening war. Machines. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not dead. They had simply been waiting, planning, preparing for the day when they would emerge from their tomb to collect the debt owed in blood and sorrow. The dead world above them kept its secrets well, but those secrets were about to be unleashed upon an unsuspecting universe. The Kethvar had sown the wind 50 years ago. Now they would reap the whirlwind. The underground factory never slept. Chief Engineer Oh Hyun-woo walked between the massive machines that shaped metal into instruments of war. Sparks flew from welding torches as workers attached armor plating to ship hulls. The air smelled of hot metal and electricity. Every sound echoed through the vast cavern, creating a symphony of creation and revenge. "How long until the stealth coating is finished?" Hyun-woo asked his assistant. Technician Choi Yuna wiped sweat from her forehead. Like everyone born underground, she had never seen natural sunlight. Her skin was pale, her eyes adjusted to artificial light. 2 more hours, sir. The black paint absorbs 99% of all light. Their sensors will never detect us." Hyun-woo nodded and continued his inspection. Each ship took 5 years to build. Every bolt was tested. Every wire was checked twice. There could be no mistakes when humanity finally struck back. They would only get one chance to surprise their enemies. In another section of the factory, workers assembled weapons that had never existed before. They started with Kethvar energy cannons salvaged from crashed ships, then made them better. Human engineers had studied alien technology for decades, learning its weaknesses, improving its design. The result was something neither species had seen before. "These plasma torpedoes can punch through their best shields," explained Weapons Chief Park Sung-ho to a group of officers. He held up a sleek silver cylinder the size of a man's arm. "One of these can destroy a Kethvar cruiser." The officers studied the weapon with hungry eyes. Many of them had lost everything in the Great Cleansing. Captain Lee Bong-soo's parents had died in the bombing of Busan. Lieutenant Kim Min-ji had watched her husband burn in the ruins of Tokyo. Every person in the underground city carried similar scars. Admiral Sora arrived for her daily inspection, walking slowly through the factory floor. Workers stopped their tasks to salute as she passed. She was their symbol of hope, the woman who had promised them revenge. Her white hair was tied back in a simple knot, her uniform clean but worn from years of use. "Status report," she said to Hyun-woo. "All systems are ready, Admiral. The quantum drives run silent as death itself. Our communication arrays can punch through any jamming. The hull armor can take direct hits from their best weapons." Sora stopped beside the nearest ship. It was beautiful in a terrible way, its black surface drinking in light like a hungry shadow. The hull curved like a knife blade, designed to slip through space without detection. Gun ports were hidden behind sliding panels. Every line spoke of speed and violence. "What did you name this one?" she asked. "The Vengeance," Hyun-woo replied. It seemed appropriate. The Admiral smiled, a cold expression that held no warmth. "Perfect." She climbed a ladder to inspect the ship's bridge. The control panels glowed, softly in the darkness, their displays showing system readiness. This would be her flagship, the sword that would cut the heart from the Kethvar Empire. Everything was smaller than the alien ships, built for speed rather than comfort. Humans did not need luxury, they needed results. Colonel Nam Ji-hoon found her there an hour later, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, we've confirmed the target. The research station in the Arcturus system is lightly defended. 1,200 alien scientists and technicians work there." "Good," Sora said without looking up from the weapons controls. "They built the bombs that killed our children. Let them taste their own medicine." She moved to the navigation station, studying star charts that had been updated by hidden spy drones. For 50 years, small robotic scouts had mapped Kethvar space, learning their patrol routes, identifying their weaknesses. The aliens had grown lazy in their victory, their defenses scattered and predictable. "How many survived the cleansing?" Sora asked quietly. 50 million, Ji-hoon replied. "Out of 12 billion. The numbers hung in the air like a curse. Every survivor knew them by heart. Every child born underground learned them before they learned to walk. The debt was measured in blood, counted in lives that would never be lived. And how many of them work on that station? Sora continued. 1,200. Not enough, she whispered. But it's a start. Below them, the factory continued its work. Night and day had no meaning here, only the steady rhythm of preparation. Soldiers practiced combat drills in training rooms carved from stone. Pilots ran simulations on computers built from alien technology. Engineers tested new weapons that would make the HFY pay for their arrogance. The Admiral returned to the factory floor, watching as the final ships received their deadly cargo. Each vessel carried enough firepower to crack a moon, but they were built for precision strikes, not mindless destruction. Humanity had learned the value of surgical violence from their enemies. Launch in 6 hours, she announced to the assembled crews. Today, the galaxy learns that we are not extinct. Today, the HFY discover what it means to face an enemy that has nothing left to lose. The workers cheered, their voices echoing through the cavern like thunder. Above them, hidden doors began to open for the first time in 50 years. Soon, very soon, death would rise from Earth's grave to stalk the stars. The HFY research station floated peacefully in the darkness of space, its lights twinkling like distant stars. Dr. Zethkol worked late in his laboratory, reviewing data from his latest experiments. The weapons he had helped create 50 years ago were now museum pieces, but he still felt proud of his work. The human plague had been wiped clean from the galaxy, and the universe was safer for it. His computer screens showed peaceful readouts. Power flowing normally, life support working perfectly, communication arrays sending routine reports back to the homeworld. Nothing suggested that death was sliding through the void toward them, invisible and silent as a nightmare. Computer, show me the old files, he said, settling back in his chair. The holographic display flickered to life, showing images from the Great Cleansing. Cities turning to glass under orbital bombardment. Forests burning for weeks. Oceans boiling away into steam. It had taken only 3 days to kill an entire species. Primitive but dangerous, he muttered, watching human soldiers fire their crude weapons at HFY ships. Good thing we stopped them before they could spread to other worlds. 3 light minutes away, Admiral Sora stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching her target through enhanced sensors. The black ships of her fleet hung motionless in the shadow of a dead moon, their hulls drinking in starlight like hungry shadows. Every vessel was ready. Every weapon was charged. Every crew member knew their role in the coming slaughter. All ships report ready, Captain Lee Junho announced from his position at the tactical station. His fingers danced across the controls, coordinating 300 vessels with the precision of a symphony conductor. Target analysis complete, added Lieutenant Kim Tae-hyung from the sensor station. 1,200 life signs aboard the station. Minimal defenses. They're not expecting trouble. Sora smiled coldly. Why would they? As far as they know, we've been dead for 50 years. She activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Sora. Today we begin to collect the debt they owe us. Remember your families, remember your homes, remember why we're here. The response came back from 300 captains, their voices filled with the same cold rage that had kept humanity alive through 5 decades of exile. We remember. Attack Formation Delta, Sora ordered. Silent running until we're in range, then light them up. The human fleet began to move, their ships flowing through space, like oil on water. The stealth systems worked perfectly, bending light and radio waves around their hulls until they became invisible to enemy sensors. They had learned this trick from studying HFY cloaking devices, then improved it beyond alien understanding. Captain Yoon Dae-hyun commanded the destroyer Shadow Strike, leading the first attack wave. His crew had trained for this moment their entire lives, running simulation after simulation until they could fight with their eyes closed. Now, finally, they would taste real battle. Range to target? He asked quietly. 2 minutes to optimal. Firing position. His weapons officer replied. Lieutenant Gomeran had lost her entire family in the bombing of Incheon. Her hands were steady on the firing controls, but her eyes burned with anticipation. On the research station, the first alarm began to sound. Sensor operator Velnash stared at his displays in confusion. "Sir, I'm detecting gravitational anomalies approaching our position. Multiple contacts, but I can't get a clear reading." Dr. Zethkol hurried to the control room, his tentacles writhing with nervousness. "What kind of anomalies?" "Unknown, sir. They're moving too fast to be asteroids, but I can't see anything on visual sensors." The Kethvar had grown comfortable in their dominance. Their technology had remained unchanged for decades while humanity had spent every moment improving, adapting, evolving. The aliens were about to learn the price of arrogance. "Fire," Admiral Sora whispered. The darkness of space erupted in silent violence. Kinetic projectiles launched from magnetic railguns struck the station's shields at incredible velocity. Plasma torpedoes followed, their fusion warheads turning sections of the station into expanding balls of superheated gas. Energy beams cut through armor plating like knives through paper. "Impossible!" Dr. Zethkol screamed as explosions rocked his laboratory. Emergency lights flashed red as hull breaches vented atmosphere into space. "The humans are extinct. This cannot be happening." Captain Li Bongsu led his fighter squadron through the station's superstructure, his plasma cannons targeting life support systems and power conduits. "For Seoul!" he shouted over the communication channel, watching alien bodies tumble into the void through shattered windows. "For Busan!" replied squadron leader Park Yejin, her missiles finding the station's reactor core. The battle lasted exactly 18 minutes. When it was over, nothing remained of the research station except glowing debris and frozen corpses spinning in the vacuum. No escape pods had launched. No distress signals had been transmitted. The human fleet had struck with surgical precision, leaving no survivors to tell the tale. Admiral Sora opened a single communication channel, broadcasting on all Kethvar frequencies. Her voice was calm, controlled, carrying the weight of 50 years of suffering. "Attention Kethvar Consortium. This is Admiral Kim Sora of the Human Defense Fleet. You thought you had killed us all. You were wrong. We remember every death. We remember every burning city. We remember every child who died screaming in the fires you set. This station created the weapons that murdered our world. Now it shares the fate of our people. We are coming for you. All of you. Run." The message echoed across the galaxy, carrying with it humanity's resurrection and the promise of terrible vengeance to come. The emergency meeting room on the Kethvar homeworld buzzed with frightened voices. General Vextar stood before a massive, holographic display showing their territory, red dots marking every station and colony that had gone silent in the past month. The pattern made no sense. Attacks came from everywhere and nowhere, striking without warning and vanishing like smoke. 17 mining colonies destroyed, he reported to the assembled commanders. 23 cargo convoys missing, 4 military outposts completely wiped out, and we still have no idea who's doing this. Admiral Kelvash studied the star map with growing dread. The attacks follow no pattern. They hit supply lines, research, facilities, even civilian settlements. It's like fighting ghosts. The message from Arcturus mentioned humans, suggested Commander Kelmoth. But that's impossible. We killed them all 50 years ago. The room fell silent. Every officer remembered the Great Cleansing. They had watched human cities burn from orbit, celebrating as an entire species died beneath their weapons. The idea that any had survived was terrifying beyond words. Far across the galaxy, Captain Yoon Seung-wan guided his stealth destroyer through the Vega Nebula, hunting fresh prey. The Shadow's Edge moved like a predator through the colorful gas clouds, its sensors locked onto 3 Kethvar cargo ships traveling with a light escort. "Perfect targets," he whispered to his crew. Those supplies were heading to their occupation forces in the Centauri system. Let's make sure they never arrive. Ensign Go Yunbi worked her sensor controls with practiced skill. Multiple contacts. Confirmed. 3 heavy freighters and 2 escort corvettes. They're traveling in standard convoy formation. The human ship emerged from the nebula's concealing gases like a nightmare made real. Its black hull absorbed the colorful light of the stellar nursery, making it nearly invisible until it was too late. Plasma torpedoes streaked across the void, each one guided by computers that had learned Kethvar ship designs from 50 years of study. The first freighter exploded in a ball of white fire, its cargo of weapons and ammunition adding to the destruction. The escort ships tried to respond, but their outdated sensors couldn't lock onto the human vessel. More torpedoes found their targets, turning proud alien ships into expanding clouds of superheated metal. Within minutes, the convoy was destroyed. Captain Xiongquan opened a communication channel to broadcast another message into the void. The dead remember. The dead return. The dead collect what is owed. On the Kethvar colony world of Vex Prima, panic had begun to spread. Governor Zalketh watched civilian transports launch from spaceports, carrying frightened families toward the safety of the core worlds. His people had ruled the galaxy for centuries, but now they cowered like children afraid of the dark. "Sir, another patrol ship has failed to report in," his aide announced nervously. "That makes 12 vessels lost this week." The governor's mandible clicked with anxiety. "Double the escort for all supply runs, triple the sensor sweeps. These ghosts have to be somewhere, but the human ships were everywhere and nowhere." Admiral Sora had divided her fleet into small, hunting packs, each one operating independently to maximize confusion and terror. They struck from asteroid fields and nebulae, appearing just long enough to destroy their targets before vanishing back into the cosmic dark. Colonel Park Young-soo led one of the most daring raids yet, attacking a Kethvar orbital shipyard above, their fortress world of Malketh. His Marines moved through the facility's corridors like shadows of death, their weapons firing with deadly precision. "Sweep every sector," he ordered his troops over the communication channel. "No survivors, no witnesses. They showed our children no mercy, so we return the favor." The aliens had grown soft during their long dominance. Their soldiers were trained for fighting primitives with simple weapons, not the hardened survivors of genocide who had spent 50 years perfecting the art of war. The Kethvar defenders fell like wheat before the human assault. "Please," one alien scientist begged as Marines entered his laboratory. "I was just following orders. I never wanted to hurt anyone." The Marine's response was a single shot from his plasma rifle. Orders were orders, and humanity's orders were simple. No mercy for those who had shown none. Back on the homeworld, the Emergency Council continued their desperate planning. Reports flooded in faster than they could process them. Trade routes were being severed. Military bases were going dark. Even their most secure facilities were somehow being compromised. "We need to evacuate the outer colonies," Admiral Kelvash suggested. "Bring everyone back to the core worlds where we can protect them." "With what?" General Vextar demanded. "Half our fleet has disappeared. The other half jumps at shadows. Our people are terrified of an enemy they can't see or understand." The truth was beginning to dawn on them. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the species they had tried to exterminate was hunting them with methodical precision. Every attack was perfectly planned, every strike calculated for maximum psychological impact. The galaxy's apex predators were learning what it felt like to be prey. The Kethvar had awakened something in the cosmic dark, something that remembered every murdered child and burned city. Now that something was coming to collect the debt written in blood and fire 50 years ago, fear spread through their empire like a virus, carried by survivors' tales and ghost stories whispered in the dark. The humans were supposed to be extinct, but extinction had only made them stronger, harder, more dangerous than any living species could ever be. The Kethvar homeworld of Veltara hung like a blue-green jewel against the starfield, its 3 moons casting silver light across peaceful continents. Orbital defense platforms bristled with enough weapons to shatter entire fleets, their crews confident in their invincibility. No enemy had ever threatened the sacred homeworld. No force in the galaxy could penetrate their defenses. That confidence shattered when the human armada dropped out of hyperspace. 300 black ships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls so dark they seemed to eat the light of distant stars. They spread across the void like drops of night itself, each vessel a testament to 50 years of rage transformed into purpose. The sight was beautiful and terrifying, a symphony of vengeance written in metal and fire. Admiral Kim Sora stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, her weathered hands gripping the command rail. She was 75 years old now, one of the last survivors who remembered Earth before the burning. Her hair was white as winter snow, her face carved by decades of loss and determination. "All ships report ready for battle," Captain Lee Junho announced from his station. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with the same cold fire that had kept humanity alive in their underground tombs. "Planetary defense grid is powering up," added Lieutenant Kim Tae-hyun. "They're scared." Sora smiled, an expression that held no warmth or mercy. "Good. They should be." She opened a communication channel to the planet below, her voice carrying the weight of 12 billion murdered souls. "People of Veltara, this is Admiral Kim Sora of the Human Defense Fleet. 50 years ago, your leaders decided that my species was too dangerous to live. They burned our world and murdered our children. They thought they had made us extinct." The transmission reached every communication device on the planet. In homes and offices, schools and government buildings, millions of Kethvar listened to the words of a species they believed they had destroyed. "Today you learn that some fires burn too hot to die," Sora continued. "Today you discover the price of genocide." On the planet's surface, Commander Admiral Zekvoth desperately tried to organize his home fleet. 200 Kethvar warships rose from orbital docks, their hulls gleaming with fresh paint and pride. They had never faced a real battle, never tested their weapons against an enemy that could fight back. "All units, attack formation Gamma," he ordered, but his voice cracked with fear. The reports from the outer colonies had reached even here. Entire fleets had vanished without trace, planets had gone silent. An enemy that should not exist was systematically destroying everything they had built. The battle began with cold precision. The human ships moved like a school of predatory fish, their formations flowing around enemy positions with deadly grace. They had studied Kethvar tactics for 50 years, learned every weakness, exploited every flaw. Captain Yoon Dae-hyun commanded the destroyer Storm's Fury, leading his squadron against a group of enemy cruisers. "Remember, Soul," he whispered over the communication channel. "Remember why we're here." His plasma cannons spoke in tongues of fire, each shot guided by targeting computers that knew exactly where to strike. The Kethvar shields collapsed under the assault, their proud warships breaking apart like toys in the hands of an angry child. "For Tokyo," called Captain Oh Minseo, her fighter wings swarming around a Kethvar dreadnought. The massive alien ship tried to swat them away with point defense weapons, but the human pilots were too fast, too skilled, driven by memories of burning cities and dying families. Colonel Nam Ji-hoon led his Marines in boarding actions against the orbital defense platforms. They moved through the alien stations like ghosts of vengeance, their weapons cutting down defenders who had never faced an enemy willing to die for victory. "No quarter," he ordered his troops. "They gave our people none." The platforms fell one by one, their massive guns falling silent as human explosives tore through their power cores. The planet's defensive shield began to flicker and fail, exposing the soft world beneath to the fury of an awakened species. Admiral Sora watched from her command bridge as the enemy fleet disintegrated around them. The Kethvar had grown soft, in their dominance, their technology unchanged, while humanity had spent 5 decades perfecting instruments of war. Every human ship carried weapons that their builders had never seen, powered by engines that ran on controlled fury. "Planetary defenses neutralized," Captain Junho reported. "The homeworld is defenseless." Below them, panic gripped the alien population. Cities tried to evacuate, but there was nowhere to run. The black ships hung in orbit like sword points aimed at the heart of their civilization, silent judges waiting to pass sentence. Sora opened one final communication to the world below. Her voice was calm now, carrying the authority of the grave. "Your leaders chose to make war on children. They chose to burn worlds rather than share the galaxy. Now you face the children who survived, grown hard in the darkness you created." The human fleet settled into position around Veltara, 300 black angels of death watching over a conquered world. The orbital bombardment did not begin immediately. Instead, the ship simply waited, letting fear do its work. The Kethvar who had once ruled the galaxy now cowered beneath the guns of a species they had tried to exterminate. "Justice, Admiral," Sora whispered, watching the blue-green world turn slowly beneath her fleet. Finally, justice. The dead could rest now. Their children had survived to see the debt paid in full.